Okay guys, this is the last set of notes from this section, and the last type of equation that we're going to do are absolute value equations. Absolute value equation is an equation that involves one or more absolute value expressions. Remember that the expression inside can be positive or negative. So an equation that involves one or more absolute value expressions. And remember that the expression inside can be positive or negative. Okay, so your note sheet for this is the little, you should have one that's a half sheet. This one's a little easier. We're just going to fold it in half this way. And when you go to put this one in, it's going to go on page 72. And you don't have to do the little flap like we did before. You can just glue it down because you've got this extra space at the bottom in your notebook if you need to write more. Okay, so you won't have to worry about that one. Okay, to solve an absolute value equation, remember the definition that what is inside the absolute value can be positive or negative. So if we have, let's just say we have the absolute value of x is 5. That means this x could be positive 5 or it could be negative 5. Either way, you're going to get that the absolute value of that is 5. So you're going to have two equations is what's going to happen here. So you're going to use the positive expression from in here, write it in general form, factor and solve, and then check. Then you're going to use the negative expression. So pause for a minute and write those down, and then we'll go to the problem. Okay, the first example is the absolute value of 3x plus 2 equals 7. So one thing that I've noticed is that all of this is positive. And that may not be a good idea. I may have to write one that has a negative in it so you can see what's going on. So this is what's in the radical. In the absolute value. So we're going to do two equations. Our first equation, we're going to do the positive of this. So we're going to do it just like it is. 3x plus 2 equals 7. And then the second equation, we're going to do if that inside whole thing were negative. So the opposite of 3x plus 2 could equal 7. So our first equation is just 3x plus 2 equals 7. So 3x equals 5. So x equals 5/3. So that's one equation. And our second one, if you distribute the negative, you have negative 3x minus 2 equals 7. So negative 3x equals 9. So x equals negative 3. Then you're going to want to check both of those. So if you go up to check them, you have the absolute value of 3 times 5/3 plus 2 equals 7. Those 3's cancel, so you have the absolute value of 5 plus 2, which is 7. And the absolute value of 7 is 7. So that one works. And if we check the second one, which was negative 3, the absolute value of 3 times negative 3 plus 2 gives you the absolute value of negative 9 plus 2, which is negative 7. And the absolute value of negative 7 is 7. So that one works. Okay? So, let me just make one up that has a negative in it, because I want you to see what happens when you have negatives in there. Let's say we have the absolute value of 2x minus 5 equals 11. Okay? So the first equation, we're going to do the positive of this. Now when I say the positive of this, it doesn't mean that you change everything to positive. It just means that it stays like it is. So that's going to stay 2x minus 5 equals 11. So 2x equals 16 x equals 8. And then for the second one, when you do the negative of this, it doesn't mean that everything is automatically negative. It just means we do the negative of what's inside. So negative 2x is negative 2x, and then a negative 5 is positive 5. So just watch signs on those type of problems. So negative 2x equals 6, x equals negative 3, and then you're going to go back and check both of those and make sure that they work. Okay? And both of those would work when you go check them. Okay? Now try the checkpoint, but notice there should be an absolute value bar here. I drew mine in, so, and I don't know if this one was just barely showing or if it wasn't there. So make sure that you have an absolute value bar on each side of that one. And then try this one, pause the video and work it out, and then come back and see how you did on it. And make sure that you check your answers. Okay, so if you've already worked it out, we're going to go back and solve it together now. This first equation is going to take the positive of what's inside there, so it's going to be x squared plus 4x equals 5x plus 12. And then for the other one, we're going to do the opposite of what's in there, equals 5x plus 12. So this one, if we keep working the first one out, we're going to get everything to one side. So x squared minus x minus 12 equals 0. X minus 4 times x plus 3 equals 0. X equals 4. X equals negative 3. Then for the second one, negative x squared minus 4x equals 5x plus 12. I'm going to take them this way so that I have a 0. So that I have a positive x squared. So 0 equals x squared. When I move that over, it adds. So 5x plus 4x is 9x plus 12. So then we want to factor this, and it does not factor. So we'll have to do the quadratic formula. So x equals negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 9 squared minus 4 times 1 times 12 all over 2 times 1. Okay, so x equals negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 81 minus 48 over 2. 81 minus 48 is 33 all over 2. Now 33, you can't take the square root of it, or you can't pull anything out, so that gives you two answers there. Negative 9 plus the square root of 33 over 2, and negative 9 minus the square root of 33 over 2. Okay, so you have 4 answers, and I know these look like you couldn't check them. You can plug them in, especially if you use your calculator, and check to make sure that all of those, check and see that if all of those work or not. Okay, so you've got all of your notes now for this section. You need to make sure that you have all of the homework written down, and it should be on your sheet of instructions that you got for this section. But on page 128, you need to do numbers 1 through 4. You should be able to answer all those questions now. All of those. 5 through 23 odd. 31 through 41 odd. And 51 through 63 odd. So these are just different problems. These are vocabulary questions. These you're going to be doing factoring and quadratic form, and then you've got the radicals, and then the rationals and the absolute values. Okay, so I hope that helps, and I hope you've been able to keep up while I've been gone, and I will see you on Tuesday.